Hi, this is Ashley you once again, and I'm welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've put a video up on here, but I'm back with the review of the conclusion of the big leagues around Europe. Some issues had to be decided on the final day of some of the leagues, and I'll take you through each and every single one of them as they reached their conclusion. So first up, it was the Premier League. Heading into the final day. Manchester City were assured as champions. Manchester United would finish in second place, but the third and fourth places in the Premier League and a spot in next season's Champions League were undecided. Three teams were after the final two spots. Chelsea, Liverpool, and Leicester City. Started the day in that order, and were looking to get themselves into the top four and qualify for next season's Champions League. Chelsea were away to Aston Villa, Liverpool were at home to Crystal Palace, and Leicester City were at home to Tottenham. Leicester City were decided who were outside the top four, so they needed results to go their way. And as the afternoon transpired, they knew that a win would put pressure on either Liverpool or Chelsea to do their job, and Chelsea needed the win at Aston Villa to guarantee themselves qualification, but instead they actually lost the game 2-1. Bertrand Traoré scored first for Aston Villa, and then El Ghazi doubled their lead from the penalty spot. Ben Chilwell then pulled one back 20 minutes to go, and but Chelsea couldn't find an equaliser, and so they had to rely on results elsewhere. Liverpool didn't do them any favours. They beat Crystal Palace 2-0 to jump above Chelsea and finish third, but it was Leicester City who actually gave them the break they needed. They were actually 2-1 up with about 15 minutes to go and on course to replace Chelsea in the top four, but in the last few minutes, they really collapsed. Kasper Schmeichel made it 2-2 with a terrible own goal. Misjudged his punch from a corner and it flew in, and therefore Leicester needed to score again. And just as they were pushing forward, Spurs caught them on a break twice. Gareth Bale scoring both goals to ensure that Spurs win 4-2, and not only consign Leicester to another season in Europa League, but secure Tottenham's 7th place and with it a spot in next season's new competition in Europe called the Europa Conference League as well. So, not the ending that Leicester would have wanted. It's the second season in a row they've missed out on Champions League football on the final day of the season after a defeat at home. And so, despite their FA Cup success last weekend, it feels like a bit of a failure for them, particularly given they've spent the most days out of all the teams in the Premier League in that top four, 242 days to be precise, and they still failed to finish in that position at the end of the season. So it's a bit of a sour taste for them, but I'm sure the FA Cup will sort of mask over that, given that it's their first triumph in their history in that competition, but I'm sure they'll have wanted Champions League football after what happened last season as well. So another season in the Europa League waits for them, and joining them in that competition will be West Ham, who finished 6th after a 3-0 win over Southampton. To secure their highest league finish actually since 1999, so it's been a brilliant season for them, and they can now look forward to a first campaign in Europe for quite some time, West Ham. Moving on to the other results, Manchester United, who finished second, won 2-1 away to Wolves, whose manager is leaving, Nuno Espirito Santo. Sheffield United, who are already been relegated and finished bottom, beat Burnley 1-0, who are already safe. Fulham, another of the relegated teams, lost 2-0 to Newcastle. Leeds ended the season on a high with a 3-1 win over relegated West Brom. It's their 4th league win in a row in the Premier League. Arsenal ended a very disappointing season with a 2-0 win over Brighton. They finished 8th and therefore missed out on European football for the first time since 1996. So it was very disappointing by them. And Manchester City, the champions, smashed Everton 5-0, Aguero getting on the score sheet twice after he came off the bench in his final game for the club. So perfect ending for him. Could get even better if they win the Champions League next weekend. So maybe he could have the fairy tale end to his career at the club that he wanted. But Chelsea standing there could have other ideas in Porto, where the final was being held. Yeah, I'll preview that in one of my later videos, but that's sort of the action that's taken place in the Premier League on the final weekend. And then moving on to some of the other European leagues, La Liga in Spain, the La Liga as we call it, final weekend there was still the matter of who would win the title between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. Atletico went into the final day 2 points ahead of Real Madrid, and so a win would guarantee them the title. But if they dropped points, even a draw would not have been enough if Real Madrid had won, because Real would have finished top with a superior head-to-head record. So Atletico really needed to win. And they fell behind early on against Real Valladolid, who were fighting to stay in La Liga early on. And you felt that it was going to be a very nervy afternoon for them. But at the same time, Real Madrid also fell behind against Villarreal's side, who still looking to try and get themselves into the Europa League. They scored first Villarreal at the Madrid's training ground, and so it was as you were at the start. But Atletico turned things around in the second half with goals from Angel Correa and Luis Suarez with the vital second goal. And that turned out to be crucial because Real Madrid themselves scored 2 goals late on, first through Benzema and then Luka Modric in injury time. But in the end, it didn't matter. Atletico Madrid have won La Liga for the first time in 7 years and leave Real Madrid without a major trophy since 09-010. So it's been a disappointing season for Real Madrid. Yes, they've made somewhat argue that their manager Zidane has had his best season ever, given the fact he's managed a team that lacked real strength in depth. I mean, you wouldn't say that about a big club like Real Madrid, who've got a lot of finances, but in fact, they're in pretty much a lot of debt as well, so they couldn't really afford to spend big last summer. But Zidane, you could say that Zidane has had his best season as a manager, given the fact he's taken Real Madrid to the title race to the final day and took them in with a chance of winning the title, and he got them into the semi-finals of the Champions League, in which they had no right. So you may argue that his team have made progress, but nonetheless, it's Real Madrid pride themselves on winning trophies, and the fact they haven't got any this season is a step backwards for them, you would feel. But as for Atletico Madrid, I mean, they made it a lot more nervy than it should have been. I mean, at the halfway stage of the season, they were like 10 points clear, and with a game in hand as well. So it looked like they were going to cruise towards the title, but it wasn't to be. I mean, they suffered some sort of collapse near the end of the season and needed to rely on their title rivals to slip up to keep themselves at the top, particularly Barcelona, who had several opportunities to take control of the title race but never took them. I mean, losses to Granada and Celta Vigo and at home, and also a goalless draw with Atletico Madrid pretty much did for them in the title race. And even though they've won the Copa del Rey, Barcelona, you get the feeling their manager is on borrowed time. Ronald Koeman is on borrowed time at the minute. I mean, I know Barcelona were in transition; they're in a lot of debt, but the fact they could have won the title after their rivals slipped up so many times. I mean, you've got to ask questions about Koeman and whether he can take this club back to their former glories in the long term. But it looks likely he's on his way out this summer. Who knows? And maybe his star man Lionel Messi may follow him as well, because there's still uncertainty about his future at the club. Lionel Messi, yes, he's pretty much had to carry this team from start to finish. It's not a very good Barcelona team, it has to be said. A lot of young players in there, and a lot of players who, let's be honest, are not really good enough for a big club like Barcelona as well. So major surgery you feel would be needed at the club in the summer if they're to, get themselves back to winning the title again and challenging the big boys in Europe as well. So lots of soul searching for them to do, and they finished third, which is their lowest league finish since 2008, I think. So even more disappointment for them. But they'll be in the Champions League alongside Sevilla and the two Madrid clubs. Sevilla finished fourth. They were at one point in with a shout of the title, but it sort of petered out towards the end. And yeah, they had to settle for a fourth place finish. Fifth place was Real Sociedad and sixth place were Real Betis. Those two teams will go into the group stages of the Europa League. Villarreal finished seventh and will drop into the Europa Conference League unless, of course, they win Wednesday's Europa League final against Manchester United, in which case they would go into the Champions League instead. And that also means there'll be no Spanish teams in that new competition in Europe. So maybe their season could end on a high, but you just get the feeling. They'll have a tough task against Manchester United in Gdansk to win the Europa League. So maybe their best route is really back in the Europa Conference League, but who knows? They could upset the cards and maybe get themselves amongst Europe's elite. Yeah, so that's it for my review of the La Liga. There was also the matter of who will be relegated from the league. In the end, it was Huesca, Real Valladolid, and Eibar who were relegated from La Liga, and it was Elche who managed to stay up. So that's all the issues sorted in La Liga. And then there was a title race also to be decided on the final day in France, Liga, between Lille and Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco, who had an outside chance. They started the day 3 points off the top and needed results to go their way. Unfortunately, it didn't, as Lille won 2-1 away at Angers to win their first title in 10 years, ahead of Paris Saint-Germain. Lille were pretty comfortable throughout the game. I know it was quite a bit nervy late on when Angers pulled one back, but Lille were very much in control throughout the whole game. Their goals came from Jonathan David and Burak Yilmaz from the penalty spot, and it was pretty much done and dusted. Lille, as I said, win their first league title in 10 years, ahead of PSG, who also won. But it wasn't enough, and that concludes what has been a very disappointing campaign for them. 8 defeats by a team that spent a lot of money to try and conquer Europe, so it's not really been good enough for them. I know they sacked their manager midway through the season to replace Tuchel, I think it was, who got sacked, and he was replaced by Maurizio Pochettino, but it wasn't enough for them to retain the Liga title, and there's plenty of soul searching for them as well, given the fact that even though Neymar has recently signed a new deal to stay at the club for the next 5 years, Mbappe, what's the future for him? Will he still be at the club next season? Who knows? There's still plenty of questions for them to answer in the summer as well. So. But Pochettino, no doubt, will be under pressure next season to win back to not only the Liga title, but to go all the way in next season's Champions League, because that's the ambition of the club. They want to become one of the big European superpowers, and the fact they're not top of their own league, well, it'll probably make it more difficult for them to put up a more sustainable challenge in Europe. I know they got to the semi-finals this season, but they were completely outplayed in both legs in the semi-final by Manchester City, who look like they're going to win the competition. And well, PSG, they've got a lot of work to do if they want to become one of the main contenders in Europe again. They finished in second place. Third place was Monaco. They also qualified for the Champions League as well. Despite the fact they only drew 0-0 away at Lens, but that was because Lyon in fourth lost to Nice. So the latter will have to settle for a place in Europa League along with Marseille in fifth. Rennes in sixth will go into the new Europa Conference League after snatching sixth place from Lens on the final day of the season. So yeah, a bit of salvation for the cup club from Brittany as well. And at the bottom, there were like a cluster of teams who were in danger of being sucked into the relegation playoff and facing a nervy week ahead. But as it was, that the team who finished in 18th were Nantes after they lost to Montpellier. It means they'll have to face I think it's Toulouse from the second division below in a two-legged playoff to see who will be in Liga next season. So they've got a nervy week ahead. The teams that were automatically relegated from the league were Nimes and Dijon. So yeah, that's about it for the Liga season as well. But from congratulations to Lyon, what a fantastic achievement it is for them to win Liga from PSG. And they fully deserve it as well, despite spending like a quarter of a budget of PSG. So Christophe Galtier will get huge congratulations from all involved, and maybe he's an up-and-coming manager, and maybe he should be looked at by the big clubs as well. So who knows, but I'm sure he'll be happy celebrating with his players after what was a pretty unlikely title win, it has to be said. So yeah, kudos to them. And then in the other two major European leagues where the title was already decided way before the final day, in the Bundesliga, the only real issues that needed deciding as to were who would finish in seventh place and qualify for the Europa Conference League, and who would suffer automatic relegation, along with Schalke, who were destined to finish bottom. Seventh place went to the surprise package of the season, Union Berlin, after they beat RB Leipzig with a last-minute winner on the final day to secure seventh place. Head of Borussia Mönchengladbach, whose manager Marco Rose, as we all know, is going to head to Dortmund next season. So not really the ending he wanted, despite their win today against the Werder Bremen side, who have been relegated as a result of that defeat. 4-2 the final scoreline, and it pretty much sums up Werder Bremen's season. Not good enough throughout the whole season, never really looked like they were going to clamber themselves to safety. And as a result, their spot in the relegation playoff was taken by Cologne, who scored a late winner against Schalke to give themselves a Bundesliga lifeline. I think they've got Holstein Kiel in the playoffs, over two legs in the playoff to see who will be in the Bundesliga next season. So they live to fight another day. Live to fight another day. The top four in the Bundesliga at the end was Bayern Munich as champions in first, Leipzig in second, Borussia Dortmund in third, and Wolfsburg in fourth. Wolfsburg returning to the Champions League for the first time in 5 years. So good season for them. And fifth place was Eintracht Frankfurt, who narrowly missed out on the first ever appearance in the Champions League. And sixth place was Bayer Leverkusen, who at the turn of the year were in contention for the Bundesliga title, but fell away quite drastically in the second half to end up in disappointing sixth place position. So lots of work for them if they want to get themselves back amongst the best in German football. And that's the end for the Bundesliga. And then the other Big Five league remaining that I haven't talked about is Serie A. Inter Milan have already won the title, but below, and Atalanta have already got a place in next season's Champions League. And so the only real issue really was who would finish third and fourth between AC Milan, Napoli and Juventus. Milan and Napoli were in the top four at the start of the day, which meant that Juve were in serious danger of not making it into the Champions League next season. And after winning 9 successive Serie A titles as well, so it could have ended quite badly for them. But in the end, they got the job done against, I think it was Bologna. They beat Juventus 4-1 away from home. They were pretty comfortable throughout the game, and now was a case of relying on their other Champions League rivals to drop points. Milan did the business against Atalanta with a 2-0 win. 2 penalties from Frank Kessie secured a return to the Champions League. For the 7 times winners of Europe, we must remember, back in the Champions League after a 7-season absence. And they finished second ahead of Atalanta, who finished third. And then so Juventus needed to rely on Napoli to drop points against Verona, and that's exactly what happened. Napoli actually took the lead on an hour mark, but were pegged back a few minutes later, and they couldn't find a winner to save their place in the Champions League, and so they dropped down into the Europa League along with Lazio. And Juventus somehow, after what has been a mixed bag for them this season, they've scraped into the Champions League really, and but will it be enough for Ronaldo to stay at the club next season? He's getting to the point whereby he could retire. And the fact that Juve are not really any closer to winning the Champions League, will it persuade him to leave the club and find pastures new? Who knows? But Juventus, they've got the job done. They're in the Champions League once again, and they've won the Coppa Italia as well in their first season under Andrea Pirlo, so maybe some sort of success, but it's still been a disappointing season by their standards, and they'll look to regroup for next season. 5th place, as I said, was Napoli, and 6th place, as I said, was Lazio. They both go into the group stages of the Europa League. 7th place went to Roma after they drew 2-2, I think it was, against Spezia. They needed a late equaliser to get that point they needed to get 7th place ahead of Sassuolo. And so Roma will be in the new UEFA Europa Conference League next season. Relegated from Serie A were Benevento, Crotone and Parma. I think that was sealed before the final day. So yeah, that's it for the Serie A season. 2 Milan clubs in the top 2. Can't really remember the last time that happened in the league. So, but good for the competition that both of them are back in the Champions League next season. And then moving on to some of the other European leagues that were finished. I think like in the last few weeks. In Portugal, Sporting Lisbon won their first title in 19 years. 19 years ahead of Porto and Benfica, who both join them in the Champions League next season. Sporting Lisbon looked like they were going to go unbeaten, but unfortunately a defeat at Benfica meant they couldn't. But it's still been a great season by them. Sporting winning the Portuguese league. And Zenit St. Petersburg won the Russian league as well. To book themselves a return to the Champions League next season. Spartak Moscow is who will join them in the competition, but they'll start in the qualifiers. Spartak Moscow. Club Brugge won their league in Belgium ahead of Genk, who are in the qualifiers as well. Dynamo Kiev won in Ukraine ahead of Shakhtar Donetsk. Ajax won the Dutch Eredivisie ahead of PSV Eindhoven. And Besiktas won the Turkish league ahead of Galatasaray and Fenerbahce as well. So yes, and Rangers won their league in Scotland. I think I've already said that in recent weeks. Rangers won it at the Cantor in Scotland ahead of Celtic, and the other winners of some of the big European leagues. Brøndby won the Danish league for like the first time in like quite a while for them. So head of Midtjylland in Denmark as well. So great achievement by them. Slavia Prague won the Czech League. Slavia Prague, who conquered Rangers and Leicester in the Europa League this season. They've won the Czech League once again, ahead of Sparta Prague in second place. And I think that's all my roundup of all the big European leagues that have happened around Europe. I mean, I think every European league is finished. All the big major European leagues have finished their seasons, and it's now a case of finding out who will win the Champions League and the Europa League later this week. In the Europa League final on Wednesday, United face Villarreal. United looking for their first trophy under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer against the Villarreal side, who are in their first European final ever. So, but they've got a manager who's actually won this competition before, so maybe his experience could count against against United and Solskjaer. But you would have to think that United are favourites to win this final. I mean, previous encounters between these sides have never had a goal between them, remarkably. So hopefully that won't be the case in Gdansk. But you still expect United to win this final, really. They've been favourites from pretty much when they dropped down from the group stages of the Champions League. And they'll be looking to complete the job in Gdansk on Wednesday. And then the big one on Saturday is between Manchester City and Chelsea. Both sides have already got their place in next season's Champions League, so it's not really much pressure on both in that regard. But City will be looking to win the competition for the first time ever and finally, satisfy what their owners have craved for so long, which is success in this competition and with it a status as a big European superpower. But they're up against the Chelsea side who, when it comes to playing against the big boys, have really risen to the occasion under Thomas Tuchel. They've beaten City twice in recent weeks, in the semi-finals of the FA Cup and in the Premier League as well. So they'll be tough opposition, Chelsea, and they've got experience of winning this competition. Back in 2012 it was, when they secured that dramatic penalties victory over Bayern Munich. I mean, could they do it again in this final in Porto? So still everything to play for, and City will be the favourites without doubt given their superior quality, but never rule out Chelsea, particularly with that defence they've got. I mean, it's been as rock solid as hell since Thomas Tuchel's taken over at the club, so could be a very tight one. And that's it for my roundup of all the European football. I mean, I haven't really covered the playoffs in the Football League. I might do that when the playoff finals come around at the weekend. So that's it for and I'll do that pretty much then. Thank you for watching my video as always. Thank you for tuning into my content on my YouTube channel, and hopefully you enjoy watching what I've got to say about the latest football stories this week, and I'll be looking to produce more of the same, if not better, when the Euros come around next month. So look forward to doing all that. Stay tuned for some of the content from there's the Euros is being held in pretty much 12 countries across Europe, so plenty of action to be taking place next month, and I'll take you through all that as it comes around. But thank you for tuning into today's video with me, and I look forward to seeing you all on here once again very soon. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, and as I said, keep yourself healthy and keep yourself keep enjoying yourself as well. So yeah, I'm out. This is it for my video, and I'm out of it.